All right, Rocket fans, we're going to load up the vehicles and go down to Russellville this week. Friday night's game will be the district championship. Crittenden County looking to defend its district title in the Class A First District. And if we can pull this off and win this week, it will be the first time since 2001 and 2002 the Rockets have won the district in back-to-back season. Coach Thompson, you were on those teams back in the early 2000s, and it's tough to win a district 2 years in a row.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you have to have one of those spurts of years where you have back-to-back classes, and, you know, big groups of kids in a Class A school to be able to do something like that. So it'd be special. We can pull that off this year just like it was then and the time before that.
And before that, they won it a couple of times back in the 90s, and I know you grew up watching those guys when you were a middle schooler, and man, those were some special teams back then, but I think we've got something special going on right now.
Yeah, definitely. We have kids that are playing with passion, all out, giving everything they have, and it's just like those teams. Those teams back then, they were tough, and they flew around having fun, just pushing people around. So that was what was fun to watch about those guys.
Well, and it's especially tough to win a district back-to-back when you have a team like Russellville in it. Not to belittle anybody else in the district, but Russellville has a very storied history. They've won 3 state championships, been to the state championship multiple times beyond winning it. And, you know, there was a time that all roads went through Russellville in Class A from Western Kentucky. And back when Kenny Barrett was a coach, and then John Myers came in, and now Mikey Benton has taken over. And I think maybe it's taken a little bit of time for them to get used to the new coach. I believe they had a couple of guys go to Logan County this year too. You know, Logan's really good, and that makes a difference. But they've put in a spread offense. They've gone away from the more traditional running type offensive packages. And tell us a little bit about Russellville. They're 4-4 this season, and maybe not what we expected.
Yeah, they did go to the spread, and you know they do some things in it that can be very effective and dangerous if they're clicking. Their quarterback is the same quarterback they had last year. His name's Jacob Naylor. He's a really explosive kid, big play waiting to happen. So we'll have to make sure that we keep him hemmed up. And they have a couple receivers that are pretty decent as well. Their running back, I guess in the offense they played last year, he was the fullback, and so he's a returning guy. And all those receivers, that running back and that quarterback, are all guys that can make a big play happen anytime. So defensively, we'll have to stay sound and disciplined, because the things that they do, it's still that option type look. It's just from a spread formation now. So we'll have to be sound on defense to make sure that we have a chance to be successful in the end. Defensively, they do the same thing that they did in the past. They run a 3-3 stack, but they're a multi-set defense. You'll see them at a 4-2-5 at times, which is 4 down linemen instead of 3. The 3-3 stack is more like what we do. So, you know, for us to come in, it's got to be about us. We want to come in with that sense of urgency to go out and finish the game. We don't want to, there shouldn't be any added pressure because we're trying to win a district championship or go back-to-back. It's just more about us doing what we do and going in and answering the call.
This is a game, I think maybe if you wanted to challenge your defense and maybe give Coach Courtney something to shoot at, we have never shut Russellville out. Yeah. They've shut us out before. And this is a series they lead quite handsomely. However, we've won 9 of the last 13 and won last year by 1 point, and that was a heck of a football game last year. Yeah,
it was. It was a fun one to be a part of for sure. There was highs and lows in that game, just like any championship game should be. But you know, as far as the challenge to the defense, you know, being able to shut out a team like that would be great, you know, and that's what we shoot for every game. We don't want to be scored on, and our defense has been pretty good this year. So to put that challenge out there, that's good and all, but we'll have to be very sound and disciplined. Our kids have to stay disciplined. There's guys that have to do things a little bit differently than they've had to stop this offense in the past. So they'll have to think team first, me second this week, and they're going to do that. Obviously, our kids are very unselfish and are about the team and about what the goals we set out for, which is a district championship. So If we can get them out of their option style attack and force them to start having to throw the ball, we're being successful on defense.
You know, Russellville's a team that we have historically have played as much as we have anybody else. I think they're number 2 on our list as the number of times we played them, 48 times since 1957. You know, that's when football started in Crittenden County, was 1957. This is the 61st year of Rocket football. And, you know, as we said, it's a storied team, but this year we have to go into this game favored. However, I was talking to some people down at Russellville this week, and they feel like they're favored going into this game.
Yeah, and if they're from Russellville, they should feel that way. That's how we feel anytime we go into a game, you know. If I was at Russellville, I would feel that way. You have to. You have no chance of winning a game if you're not confident in yourself. But I would say that we probably are the team that's favored, returning as district champions, and you know, the season that we've had compared to the ups and downs that they've had. But with that being said, they're still a good football team, and we have to go there, and that's a very difficult place to go on and play. Especially, I can remember back when I was in school going down there, and it's just sideways rain the whole game.
I remember that game.
It was the hardest game that I ever had to stand through in my life. And, you know, there's supposed to be some weather this week, so it's kind of making me flash back to how bad that was. And everyone knows how I don't like weather.
I don't either. And you know, 2 Friday nights in a row with rain, yeah. I don't know if I can handle that. Yeah. So we're going to pray for something a little better this week.
Definitely.
You know, when you talk about teams that are favored in this game, or the team is favored, you'd have to look first at the AP Class A poll, and where we are still ranked number 7. Coach Thompson, I believe there was a little bit of a change this week on that. Campbellsville and Hazard did a little flip-flop. Hazard lost, but it was only by a point to Paintsville.
Yeah, and you know, I think if that game would have had more disparity in it, then we would have had an opportunity to move there. You know, Campbellsville didn't. You know, you look at the play-by-play of their game with Bethlehem. They in the first half, it was a little bit closer than the final score shows. So we know Campbellsville is an explosive team, but Bethlehem played with them. So that's with Bethlehem being an opponent that we could possibly see in the playoffs. You know, they're still a team that you got to look out for going forward, looking down the road.
Last week, Campbellsville beat Bethlehem 44-16. Fort Knox beat Caverna 71-48. And we'll be watching this week the Fort Knox at Bethlehem game, and that will be for the 2nd seed in that district, the 2nd district in our region. And Caverna will be at Campbellsville. Probably not a whole lot on that game. But if you look at possible pairings, we'll throw those up here so you can look at them. You know, these are just based on what we know at this point and what we may predict, and what could happen this week will change some of this. But good chance Caverna will be either at Crittenden or Russellville. Fort Knox then would be at Russellville or Crittenden. All depends on what we do this week at Russellville. And you can just about bet that Fulton County will be at Bethlehem and Fulton City will be at Campbellsville. I assume that Fulton City-Campbellsville game will go, but it could turn out to be one that Campbellsville don't even play the first round.
Yeah, that's just a long way to go with the situation that Fulton City's in. And, you know, you commend those kids for what they did this year. They love football, and they show it every Friday. But that's a long way to go when you think about travel costs and all that.
This week's trivia question, we're going to get right to that. Name the only 2 players to rush for at least 1,000 yards, record at least 100 tackles, and score at least 100 points in the same season. Could this be you, Coach?
There's not a chance. Anytime there's defense involved, there's not a chance. But I will say, I would have guessed those.
He's looking at my answers on the sheet.
Finally, I could have got it right without looking.
So you have to be a really good offensive player, a really good defensive player, 2-way player, of course. And if you've got the answer, if you know this, if you can find it somewhere, hint, hint, there's some places. Of course, we want to really give some credit to Andy Hunt, who compiles all our statistics and records all the records and archives all of the historic records and accomplishments of this great Rocket program, and appreciate all that he does for the Rocket football team. And if you know where the website is, you can get a lot of this information. But if you know the answer, again, name the only 2 players to rush for at least 1,000 yards and record at least 100 tackles and score at least 100 points in the same season. If you got the answer, go over to H&H Supply on South Main Street in Marion. Give those fine folks the answer, and if you're correct, you'll get a free round of golf that includes a green fee and a cart down at Deer Lakes Golf Course in Salem. Also, I've had some people request that we give the answer to last week's question, because some people don't ever find out.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, no.
I usually don't get to see the answers.
Last week, the question was Devin Nesbitt. Let me back up. Last week, Devin Nesbitt needs 34 receiving yards to be the 3rd player in school history with 500 receiving yards and 2,000 rushing yards. Of course, he made that. Name the other 2. So now there are 3. Who are they that have had 500 receiving yards and 2,000 rushing yards? And those other 2 are Blake Gardner and Rodney Robertson. And Blake Gardner can add Deer Hunter to his list too, because Blake killed a nice deer this week. And you read all about that in the Crittenden Press.
Yeah, it's a big one. Yeah, what's funny about that is, didn't their careers overlap a little bit?
They did. Oh yeah, they played together, and that's, again, that goes back to some of those great seasons that we had. Rodney, of course, was on that team too, that went to the state semifinals back in 2008. That's where we're at least wanting to get that far this year, and we'd like to get on up to the state championship this year. We feel like we're loaded for bear and ready to go. And speaking of loaded and maybe unloaded a little bit, let's go right now to the injury report, because that's kind of been something where everybody's hanging on every week. And I know you got some guys that possibly could be coming back in the next couple of weeks, and maybe even this week. What do you got on the injury report?
We'll start with T-Bone. He'll go today to have his check-in with Dr. Parker in Hopkinsville, and you know, he's doing better, and he's still day to day, you know. So he's running. He's able to do football-related things in practice. There's no contact or anything like that, just because, you know, it's just when there's no pain, he can go.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's doing a ton better. I mean, I'd say he's 100 times better than he was, but, you know, it's once again, it's still that doctor's call. So we'll wait for that.
So there's a chance he could play this week?
There's a chance he could play this week if everyone is comfortable with this situation. That's everybody in a circle, as far as the doctor first obviously makes that call, and then family as well as us just being comfortable. And if there's any situation where his injury can get worse, we don't want to play him this week, obviously.
I know he'll be wanting to go.
Yeah, definitely. I can tell you right now, he wants to play. Ian went yesterday.
Ian Ellington.
He still doesn't know whether or not he's going to have surgery or not, but, you know, he's moving forward. He's ordered a brace, and he'll be able to do some things with that brace and see where we go from there.
And then we have some other guys, Jagger Hayes and Caden.
Caden McAllister is in the second week of his rehab, his 2-week rehab, and then so next week he should be able to suit up and then see how that goes going into Friday, just to see how he reacts to being in pads and playing football again. But he's had no setbacks in his rehab.
And Jagger played a little bit last week.
Jagger played last week. He still has the cast on. He'll also have to cover that up. And Phillips, you saw him fly around and make a lot of tackles in his first game back. So, you know, it's good to get those guys back.
Otherwise, we're healthy and ready to go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, this week against Russellville's defense, we know what to expect from them. What do you see? What do we have to do? I know we got to run the ball well and throw the ball well, but specifically, who's got to click? What's got to happen for us to win this championship again?
Well, you know, it always starts with Hunter each week and him being able to go out and lead the offense and make good decisions, whether it's changing the play that I call or, you know, a lot of times we do a lot of run pass stuff. And then just being able to make the right decision in those when he gets those opportunities. You know, a lot of times I know we end up throwing picks at times where people are like, why is he throwing the ball? But again, with the way our offense is set up and what we do, you know, there's reads that are made. So we just got to make sure we make the right reads. And, you know, sometimes things happen, but I'm not going to change our offense and do things differently. We're going to do what we do, and I can live with that because 9 times out of 10, he always makes the right decision. But going into a championship game, offensively, you want your quarterback to be on point and hitting on all cylinders. So no pressure on him because, you know, that's what he does,
right.
You know, but you asked the question, so.
You know, another thing, of course, Ethan Dossett is one of our most dangerous weapons, and you know, one of the top receivers in the state of Kentucky. And he's had a few, what for him at least, kind of quiet weeks. People put a lot of emphasis on stopping him, but now we have, you know, the way Devin, the things that he's done the last couple of weeks. Russellville's got to be looking at that, and wow, this might be an opportunity too for Ethan to open up with a big game.
Yeah, definitely, and that's what's hard about our offense is if you're going to put a lot of emphasis on Dossett, you know, we feel like Lamey's the same thing as Dossett. We feel like Peyton and Mitchell on the outside can make plays when the ball comes their way. You know, so just looking at receivers and just the other people we can put Gavin in the slot. We can put we can bring in Travis Guest, who's an athlete, just as athletic as any kid on the team, and they can make plays. So when teams try to take one person away, that's good for us offensively because we have so much that we can do within our offense and so many guys that can make plays. And then you throw the running game on top of that, it just makes us dangerous. So you have to play us honest most times, and when defenses don't, we find a way to take advantage of that.
Well, we know Russellville is a very athletic team, and Coach, I know this is going to be a big game. We hope we have a big crowd down there. Hopefully the weather is decent too.
Yeah, and you know, the weather is more just about being in it. You know, what we do offensively, the weather doesn't affect us offensively like people might think because we do so much. But I don't want to stand in the rain. You know, I think the kids enjoy it a little bit, but it's a little cold, and I felt sick all week after last week. I just don't like that. But, you know, the weather, we'll go and we'll brave it, and we'll do what we got to do to go out and hopefully get a district championship. All
right, the Rockets looking to repeat as Class A First District champions down at Russellville. We'll see you down there on Friday night. Kickoff is at 7 p.m.